guys, what's good my homages? Welcome back to my channel. It's gonna be a glorious one, I swear. And in all seriousness, this is just gonna be a sit down chat. It's gonna be, sorry it sounded like I farted. It's just gonna be some reflections of a walk that I just went on after I was feeling some intense emotions and kind of struggling and wrestling with some self-doubt and just really being hard on myself because, well, if you're anything like me, you're self-critical. It's amazing. Yay. So I was thinking about this painting. So I've been struggling with this artist block, and before I show you this, I'm just gonna kind of talk about it, but I've been struggling with this artist block. I've had quite a few of them this year just because of burnout. I was busy with summer art markets and I haven't really had it in me to just like paint, you know? I didn't know like what to paint, what I wanted to do, this and that. I couldn't do it. I couldn't find it within myself to do it until a few nights ago. I painted, well, actually a couple weeks ago, I painted this skateboard. I'll show you the, oh, I'm gonna hit myself. I'll show you the other side in a second here. I painted it 2 tones. It's gonna be completely different than the other 2 skateboards that I painted. And yes, I know this is not a deck that you typically skate on, but it's art and it's for your wall. So if you're interested, check out my website, link is below. I was going through this artist block, not figuring out what I wanted to paint, and I thought, oh, you know, when I painted these 2 colors, I was like, you know, it'd be cool to do like traditional tattoo designs on it. And traditional art is something that I've never done before. It's out of my realm. It's out of my, you know, my box here. This is kind of my style. My style is my own. And I just kind of wanted to do something different for once because, you know, insanity is the definition of doing the same thing, expecting different results. And I've really been struggling with my growth, and I've been struggling with kind of my place in this life as a creative and as an artist, and just really wrestling with where God has taken me in my life. And I've been dealing with a lot of anger and frustration around that, and I feel like that it's, you know, a very much necessary part of the journey because, like I've said before, anger is what ignites change. Anger is what makes you do things differently and kind of reflect, and like when you've had enough of something, you're gonna make a change is basically what I'm trying to say. And I was kind of, you know, being really hard on myself about this artist block, and then being really hard on myself because even though I'm very empathetic and I have a big heart and I care deeply for others, I'm extremely blunt. I am kind of stuck in my ways. I know what I want, and as feminine as I am, I kind of have like a masculine energy about me. I am the type of person that doesn't give an F. I'll go for it. I will go for something. I'll take the risk. I'll take the chance. I'll work harder than everybody else around me, not for ego, but because I know I have that capacity within myself to do and achieve great things in this life. And it's like a blessing and a curse at times because it you know, my mind really screws with me sometimes. Anyway, I painted these designs and I've been working on this like all of last night and this morning, and I've been pushing through this artist block. And like there's this one, for instance, I don't know, it's for some reason it's very bright in here. The sunlight is gorgeous outside. But I was being hard on myself for like this one because none of my art is exactly symmetrical. It's so weird how all of this just ties together. I was like, God, none of my, you know, my art's not good. It's not symmetrical. It's not perfect. I don't get things the same. And, you know, a lot of the flaws that we see either in our life or in our work or our creativity, we see the flaws because we're the ones who make the mistake. Or sometimes we think something is a mistake and it can turn out to be a beautiful masterpiece, or people think it's great and they don't see the errors in it. You know, if I were to look at an artist's work, I'm not going to be like, oh, that line is, I see like 2 brush strokes that are out of place in there and I'm going to like hate the piece. I see the piece for what it is when it comes to someone else's work, but if it's something that I work on, I see all of the flaws. I know where I made all of the mistakes. I know where I screwed up on a line, or part of it's too skinny and some of it's too fat, and like I kind of struggle with perfectionism, but I've learned throughout this process and this journey is just to trust the process. And I was getting very frustrated with this painting this morning, and as stupid as that sounds, I decided to go for a walk, take a break from it. And I was talking on the phone with my brother, and then my friend Jem called me, and I don't know, I was just wrestling with some really intense emotions, and there's this lingering depressiveness inside of me, within my spirit, and The sadness is coming from the journey that I'm on and kind of the place I'm at in my life. I'm grateful for my home. I'm grateful for my food. I'm grateful for all, you can be grateful for all the right things and be sad about where you're at in your life. And I think that sometimes it's okay to say that. What's not okay is to push those feelings down and pretend like everything's fine and fake positivity, because you're just gonna end up more angry, honestly, if you're anything like me. I was really being hard on myself, and I decided to go for a walk, decompress, and kind of get my thoughts together. And I was like, well, gotta get that sunshine, gotta get those endorphins boosted. And the last few days I haven't vlogged or anything like that because I've been dealing with this debilitating depression. And I pushed through it yesterday. I cleaned my house. I didn't want to, like, just doing the dishes, brushing my teeth. I didn't brush my teeth till 11 o'clock this morning. That is not like me. And so anyway, long story short, this isn't to gain empathy. It's just something I struggle with. I went for a walk and I ended up passing this leaf. And I was like, God, that leaf is sure beautiful. All the other ones were brown around it. Like, it stood out. It's the coolest leaf ever. And someone told me to go back and pick it up. And it's beautiful. It's got greens and browns and yellows and oranges. And I was like, well, maybe I'll go back because maybe, you know, one day I want to create a painting like this. Maybe I want to incorporate this into a piece, the beauty of nature. And I held this leaf in my hands, and I was like probably 4 or 5 blocks from home, and I was holding this leaf and I was like, God, it's so pretty. I was appreciating the beauty of a single leaf that fell. And I noticed something. God pointed something out to me. There is no symmetry in this leaf. If you were to fold this thing in half, it's not exactly the same. It's been weathered. It's in its season of changing, and it's in its season of turning colors, and it's at the end of its life, this leaf is. And it is the most beautiful. This is fall. This is a season of changing. And I couldn't help but think to myself that we're a lot like leaves. If you were to fold a person in half, the two sides of you are not going to be the same. So what I'm saying is your darkness and your light, the positive things about you and the negative things about you, they make you who you are. But if you were to fold that in half and make it face itself, they're not the same. They're two different parts of yourself. And I thought to myself about how different everybody is and how we have our different desires and we have our likes, our dislikes, different things that tick us off, different favorite foods. There's these little quirks about us. Some people like to collect coffee cups. Some people like to drink tea. Some people like to go to a brewery and try the newest beer because they just like taste testing beer. Some people like to go for walks. Sometimes the way that, my niece, she twirls her hair. She has the curliest red hair, and she'll sit there and twirl her hair, and that's something that makes Aubrey who she is. I could go on about these kids in my life and what makes them who they are and what makes them unique. And I don't know why I'm getting emotional about this, but throughout the light and the dark in them, and I think a lot about this too, is regardless of what they do wrong in this life, I love them no matter what. I love those kids so much. I have this unconditional love for them no matter, if they were to say something really mean to me, I love them regardless. And there's so many times where we are this leaf and we face ourselves and we beat ourselves up for the dark parts of ourselves. Yes, we're gonna make mistakes. I'm not saying go treat people like shit and, rain on their parade and dance around like you're on top of the world and sit on ego. I'm not saying that. I'm saying regardless if you screw up in this life, you have the chance to make different decisions in the future. You have a chance to say you're sorry. You have a chance to apologize. And these dark parts of you and these things that you think are flaws is what's going to get you to the next stage of your life. There's a lot of times where I'm really hard on myself about my darkness. I get irritable and I get frustrated and things irritate me. But if I didn't have that about myself, I wouldn't change. I wouldn't evolve as a person. That if I didn't have that anger or that frustration, it wouldn't push me to do different things. It wouldn't push me to take chances. It wouldn't push me to do something different in this life or to take a different approach. A lot of times these crossroads where we come to and we face these dark parts of ourselves, that is where the internalization comes. That's where the growth comes. That's where facing ourselves is gonna be the betterment for our future, regardless if we see it or not. And we can choose to look at these dark parts of ourselves. I have chills talking about this. We can choose to look at these dark parts of ourselves as a negative, or we can accept it about ourselves and just kind of move on with our lives. And it's something that I struggle with, and I'm not preaching to anybody. There's times in my life where I struggle with it, but it's often a reminder, and God really has to remind me that just because you have flaws doesn't mean you're broken. Just because you have flaws doesn't mean that you have no worth. Just because you have flaws doesn't mean you have a purpose. I mean, and I'm not pushing my beliefs on anybody, but I told my friend, I had a conversation with a friend this week about it, and I feel extremely prophetic about this for some odd reason, but I told her, I said, you don't think God's gonna use you? Look at the people he used in the Bible, people who thought they weren't good enough, people who thought you would never guess. God can use you in mysterious ways, and there's parts of you that people love. And I thought a lot about death, and I thought a lot about, you know, when someone dies, they're not going to be like, well, she didn't call me on my birthday, so I'm, you know, like, they're not going to hold that against you. When people pass away, all I ever hear is good things. There was a celebrity recently that passed away from a boy band, and it wasn't like in my era of life, and I'm not too familiar with them, but it was kind of like when I was an adult, they were really big with teens and stuff, but one of these members ended up taking his own life, and all people could talk about is the good about it. And even though he had struggles, even though he went through these dark parts, even though he had this shadow self that got the best of him and he took his own life, there are still people who see the good in you. And at the end of the day, there's things that you do wrong, and I'm not saying it's okay and you give yourself a hall pass, but what I'm telling you is, don't dwell in those dark moments and stop beating yourself up. You have the chance to make a better life for yourself. You have a chance to face yourself, and it's not an easy process. I started my healing journey, you know, taking it seriously when I was 25. This is like 5 years ago, and I've been in this journey, and I bought this house 4 years ago, and I faced the darkest parts of myself, and I've done the most growth in this house, in the isolation periods, in the periods where I didn't think I was going to make it out alive. At my rock bottom, I hit rock bottom so many times, and nobody in my life knew I did, but there were so many times where I questioned why I was even here. I questioned my purpose. And there's still times where I have, you know, my struggles, and I'm like, am I even any good at art? Do I make an impact? But it doesn't matter if you're famous. Like, fame isn't everything. Like, you can make a difference in one person's life, and that's all that matters, because in this human experience, what I have to constantly remind myself is serving each other. And I'm not saying people pleasing yourself and pouring from an empty cup. You got to refill yourself and recharge yourself first. But what I'm saying is, you know, when I started to open my heart space more, when I went to these concerts and I started to meet the coolest people, and there were people that were so kind to me and gave me a hairband when I was hot in the pit, and it's stuff that maybe seems mindless to them, but it's the stuff that is impactful and matters to me, because just a split second of kindness can go a long way. And am I always perfect? No. I have my hard moments, and I you know, as humans, we can be very ugly, but there's so many beautiful parts to us. So, symmetry. I wanted to look up the definition here. And this is something that I kind of missed in the beginning of the video, and there's a purpose for everything, but the definition of symmetry: the quality of being made up of exactly similar parts facing each other or around an axis. When you fold yourself in half and you have your shadow self and the light within you, the part that shines brightly and makes you who you are, but these two parts are so different. The bad parts of you and the good parts of you are polar opposites, but you're still the same person. You're not symmetrical. You're you, you're one. You know, both of my eyes, I was been in modeling since I was 19, and I had people tell me, you have two different sized eyes. I have two different sized eyebrows. I have two front teeth. This one's longer than this one, because we're not, if you were to fold us in half, we're not the same. There's two different parts of us. So another thing with symmetry: correct or pleasing portion of parts of a thing. Overall symmetry, making the poem pleasant to the ear. So, you know, these good and these bad parts make us who we are, and there's a lot of beauty in who you are. There's a lot of colors. There's a lot of life, even though there's the dark parts. But these dark parts in this leaf, in the unsymmetrical parts, I can't talk. The unsymmetrical parts is what makes this leaf beautiful. Those parts that don't seem like they add up, those parts where you think you fall short, is what makes you beautiful. Rise from the ashes like a phoenix. Burn those old parts of yourself. You are healing. You can do this. I believe in you. I believe in healing. I believe that you can have a better life for yourself. We're all gonna fall short and we're all gonna make mistakes, but we're not meant to be perfect. We're not meant to be symmetry. We're each different. Each of us are unique in our own way. So I hope this video helped you today. I know that this internalization and realization and God opening my eyes has really opened my eyes today and kind of pulled me out of a dark pit that I was kind of dwelling in this morning. So I hope, if anything, this video helped one person. You're not a mistake, whoever's watching this. I don't know why I'm getting emotional, but I'm talking to you. You're not a mistake. You're beautiful just the way you are. Those dark parts, we all make mistakes. It's part of growth. That's how we learn. That's how we evolve. You're not a mistake. You're beautiful. I hope you have a great rest of your day, my homages. Till next time, peace out. I heart the shit out of you. Bye.
One thing I know is that